and Ms. Kelly Kumalo. And the witness was in the process of answering that, So we objected and said he was still in the process of answering this first question. So it had to be verified as to whether Advocate Mnisi did ask this question, namely, whether the effect of the communication between Ms. Kelly Kumalo and accused number 5 was used to come to the conclusion that this was a contractual killing. So the record had to be played to verify if that question was put to the witness.
Yes, Mr. Mnisi, do you recall the evidence to be like that? Or what's your recollection?
My Lord, this whole issue actually started when the witness, when I actually asked the witness what other information was actually used to come to the conclusion that this was a hit, he mentioned amongst others the communication. He actually mentioned that in terms of his investigation, there were calls that were made between Kelly Kumalo and accused number 5. Then I said to him, could this then have been used as one of the fact to show that this was a hit? Then that is when then he started to elaborate. He included the testimony of Brigadier Stein and the downloads. At some stage, he touched on accused number 3, who had plastic bags in his phone, which were downloaded, accused and Kelly and Longwe. And then he went on and on. At some stage, I actually stopped him at a time when he wanted to explain to the court what downloads are or something like that. And then I said, no, but that's not your terrain. It has already been explained by the expert. And at some stage, the court also made mention of an XDS system. But that was almost 15 minutes after I posed the first question. And then the court said, no, let us then go to the...
So what are we checking?
We are checking, my lord. We are checking
What?
whether did I actually suggest to the witness that the alleged cell phone contact between accused number 5 and Kelly Kumalo, could that have constituted a basis of the fact that this was therefore a contractual killing?
Is that what you are checking?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Mr. Brigadier, what are we checking?
I can just further add, Malo, just to try and explain that Brigadier was busy explaining as to how the evidence from the handset of Ms. Kelly Kumalo was retrieved. That's when Advocate Mnisi then interjected and said, but that's not the question that I asked you. And we objected and said, the witness is still answering the initial question and that this second question hasn't been asked.
Yes, so, but what are we checking?
So we are checking as to whether this second question
Was asked.
In other words, whether the fact that there was communication between Kelly Kumalo and accused number 5, or whether the communication between Ms. Kelly Kumalo and accused number 5 was used to come to the conclusion that this was a contractual killing. So we're checking as to whether that question was asked.
Okay, let's ask the Brigadier. What are we checking, sir?
Yeah, my lord, what I recall yesterday is that it was put to me, and this is my recollection, it was said to me, and that is by Advocate Mnisi, that there seems to be discrepancies or issues with the testimony of Kenneth Stein insofar as the linkages. And that was the context, and then the court then asked that can I comment, because I was able to discuss or to engage with him insofar as the DNA is concerned. So then I started explaining, my lord, kicking from that point to say during the course of my investigation, and I was going to say what convinced me that I didn't see anything wrong with the investigation of Colonel Steyn. That is why I went to the handset of Kelly Khumalo first, indicated where do you find the number, and I indicated that it's in her statement. I went to the details that links that number to her. Then I went to the downloadings. Then I went to accused number 5, where I said in his profile, you find that number and the number of bank statements that we did, as well as the traffics. So then I moved to accused number 3, because then I was dealing with the issue of saying, my lord, it is not, and it was not only the cell phone communication between Ms. Kelly Khumalo and accused number 5 that we started on when it came to what informed me. What was put to me by Advocate Mnisi was whether did I only rely on the confessions of accused number 1 and 2, because I referred to that to say it is contained there that the trigger point is Ms. Kelly Khumalo. Then I said, in addition to that, that is where now I was going to the communication between Ms. Kelly Khumalo and accused number 5. Then I was extending that to say, in addition to that, there is this see-through bag of money that is found in Ms. Kelly Khumalo's phone, Longwe Twala, and accused number 3. And that is where now I think the whole objection from Advocate Mnisi started. But the essence, I was answering him to say, it is not only the confessions, there were additional information that came up that gave, because I was answering that question, that what convinced me or informed me that this was a contractual killing as it's contained in my statement, A198. That was the approach that we're dealing with, my lord.
I see. Mr. Ramasipidi, what are we checking?
My lord, I think both my colleague and Brigadier Gininda have properly summarized the issue that was contentious.
Both of them?
Both
Mr.
of them.
Mnisi and the Brigadier?
The 3 of them,
Oh,
they've
they've agreed.
explained, my lord, because
Okay.
it emanated from that question relating to the inferences drawn by the Brigadier as to his conclusion that this may have been a contractual killing. So when Advocate Mnisi said, amongst others, there was a challenge to Colonel Steyn's evidence, and that's when the court said there was no countervailing evidence from the defense at this stage. That's where it ended up.
Okay. Mr. Khumalo? What did you hear?
I'll agree with the 3 of my colleagues that the contentious issue was whether the communication between Kelly Khumalo...
I see 4 of your colleagues.
Yes, 4 of my colleagues, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm sorry, my lord, 4 of my colleagues. The contentious issue was whether the communication between Ms. Kelly Khumalo and accused number 5, can be said it amounted to a contractual.
Okay, fine.
That is what we're checking. Thank you.
All right. Are you able to fish up? Okay. Yeah, you need to play it back, that portion which is supposed to be said it happened the way. Hello?
khona ke umbuzo qhamukile ekuthizeni ngabe inkulumo kade khona ngaphakathi komama uKelly Khumalo futhi ngelona ngabe iyona ke yagcina elethela noma mhlawumbe idonsa kumdlalo okuthizeni kumaphoyisa aphena licala lekuthizeni ngabe lokushona kamufi ngabe kade kuyinto kade ehleliwe phansi ke lapho ke bese wathi khona njalo ufakazi yena kade ngekho njalo kepha ngaphandle kodaba lwama confessions ke lapho ke futhi umnumzana Mnisi la ngaphambi kwesenkantolo umele kumsolo ka futhi umsolo wesithathu ke khona lapho ke kade akhuluma khona njalo ukuthizeni ngesikhathi kade khona inkulumo phakathi komsolo wesihlanu noKelly Khumalo ngabe iyona nto mhlawumbe noma isinqumo noma mhlawumbe isizathu ke esadonsa kumdlalo noma mhlawumbe esadonsa ukuthizeni kuhlangothi lwethimba lamaphoyisa la kade aseshithala ukuthizeni ke baqedele ngokuthi ke lapho ke lokubulawa kukamufi ngabe kade kuyinto kade beyihlelile noma kade kungasenjalo yini ke lapho ke bese ufakazi ngoba beyakhulumile ngodaba lama confession futhi ngodaba locingo noma mhlawumbe ufakazi omkhona ngaphakathi kocingo lokwamama uKelly Khumalo ke ngoba inombolo zocingo lwakhe ke lesa azibizile ke zolo esiqala lapho iqala ngo072 lapho ke athi ngesikhathi kade besenza ukuphenya kwecala labo noma kade besesesha icala khona ke lapho ke njalo ke waqhamuka ukuthi khona ke inombolo azakamsola wesihlanu ke phakathi kocingo lwakhe la bekaqhuluka xhumana khona naye khona njalo ke manje bathi futhi khona ke udaba locingo noma mhlawumbe iy'thombe ezatholakala phakathi kocingo lukaKheli Khumalo ulongethwala futhi ngomswalo wesihlanu isithombe leso-ke isithombe sesikhwama esibonakala ngapho okhona kubona ngale kwaso-ke futhi isikhwama sikade sinemali kusona-ke ngaphakathi-ke futhi labantu laba bobathathu kade benesithombe esisodwa noma isithombe cishe safana kucingo lwabo noma kuyithombe kade zikhona ngaphakathi ucingweni labo futhi batsho khona bathi umnumzana uKenneth Steyn-ke lapho-ke ngesikhathi kade ethula ubufakazi bakhe-ke la ngaphambi kulesenkantolo kukhona-ke udaba angakazi aligigide kahle-ke noma angakazi aqonde ngalo noma mayelana nayo noma mayelana nenkulumo yakhe-ke ukuthi akhulume inkulumo eqondile eshaya isiqondisini manje into soyenza-ke kukuthi silalele-ke ukushicilelwa kwayizolo la kade khona-ke kubuza kule mibuzo khona.
Yeah, okay, let's play it back if you can. Hello? Are you playing it back? Yes. Yeah.
There was a serious challenge with regard to the testimony, I think, of Colonel Steyn with regard to that piece of information. So, if I follow you, I could have missed a thing or two, but the essence of what you're saying is the basis for this argument in your submission to the office of the DPP in the form of the memorandum was largely on account of what was contained in the confessions.
It was based on all the evidence, my lord, that was supporting confessions at that time. As I've said, that was said, and then subsequently, then there was things that were discovered that were referring to the communications that links accused 5 and Ms. Kelly Khumalo, which one could not understand, did not get a reasonable explanation as to what is their relationship, because one could establish that they're not related, anything otherwise. So it was not an isolated incident of just the confessions.
So what you're basically saying, if I'm following your narrative, is that there was a communication link that was identified by Ira Steyn-House, Colonel Steyn-House, which linked the accused number 5 and Kelly Khumalo, and the investigation revealed that they were not related. They did not know each other, the things that you've just mentioned now. And then on the basis of that alone, or not really alone, but as a basis of that, the inference grew that this could have been an assassination, a contractual assassination or a hit.
said in the investigation, we could not establish their relationship that would justify, for example, that they know each other because they are related, for example, or they are in the same profession, or there's something that is explainable as to how they met. I could not find that in the course of the investigation to say, why would these people talk to each other? Because the evidence from the expert was that they can place the communication between Ms. Kelly Kumalo and accused 5 more than one occasion, and I could not get a justification. It would have been a different situation if the investigation revealed, for example, that they were both in the same profession. Logic would dictate that they would talk, I'm referring to them, or they are related, and logic would dictate that at some time they would talk. I'm saying we would not find it, but I'm not saying they will not know each other because I can't say that.
Okay, thank you.
Athi yena asemagama wakhe amashoko ukuthi wena kade ngangazali ngoba isikhathi esisenza uhlelo lwabo esishayana bathola ukuthi khona phakathi komfakazane futhi nokukhuluma ngabe benga isikhathi sisodwa kodwa amahlandla amaningi amahlangano futhi kade lokho bathi bathola isikhathi esishayana athi akazi asho mhlawumbe naye mhlawumbe ishobele mhlawumbe nakwazi ukuthi nabe ishobele
Now, Brigadier, you said in your earlier explanation that you could not get a reasonable explanation for the contact between Kelly Kumalo and accused number 5. Who did you approach for this explanation?
During the course of the investigation, we could not find it. But perhaps one needs to go perhaps deeper as well. The other difficulty that one could not explain. Insofar as the report I got from the analyst is that even the number, because the gadget that was downloaded by the police is the one of Ms. Kelly Kumalo. And then this number that relates to accused number 5, where now they established this thing, the report I got is that it was deleted. They had to recover it. And that, in addition to this difficulty of understanding, is why would you, when an offense has happened, you will be selecting. The police wants the device, obviously, to see if they can assist with the investigation. A specific number is deleted back then in 2014. Subsequently, fast tracking to 2020, we are now aligned with the accused number 5, whom that number is the one that was deleted and recovered later.
athi-ke lapho-ke iy'ndlela esenqoba noma iy'ndlela
Thank you, Brigadier. I will not dwell into this alleged communication between Kelly Kumalo and accused number 5. Neither would I confirm that it actually happened. All that I can say in closing this piece, this one. Number one is was a serious challenge with regard to the testimony, I think of Colonel Stein, with regard to that piece of information.
It's unfair to put that question to the witness without laying the basis for the question. We submit that that question should be ruled out until counsel lays down the basis of what he calls the challenge with regard to the evidence of Colonel Stein.
The court, my lord, I don't know whether I should proceed or should I wait for the court to make a
No,
ruling?
proceed. Just made this point, Mr. Baloyi. He says
Yes.
the court to state that there was a serious challenge
Yes,
to the evidence that there was communication between Kelly and accused number 5.
yes.
He says he must put the basis there because according to him, it's a bare denial.
Thank you, Manas. The reason why I'm saying this to say, it is because and I don't want to taint somebody else. It is because the defense was able to identify that there were discrepancies in the cell phone records or in the information that was contained in the affidavit of Colonel Stein with regard to the numbers that he referred to as having been Kelly's number and accused number 5's number.
Please, my lord, there's no such evidence. We recalled Colonel Stein, and his evidence is clear. There's no such defects as counsel is putting to the witness. In any case, that point should be left for argument and not put to this witness.
Please, the court, my lord, his evidence definitely is not here. But well, in any event, this witness wasn't there.
And as I listen to the evidence,
Yes.
it's a question of language. Mr. Baloyi, you want to say there's no countervailing evidence?
Indeed.
Yeah, we only have an expert's evidence from the state. And I don't want to argue the state's case. You, the defense, you've made denials, etc., fine. But you never produced any countervailing evidence. And it's not that you're not going to. Maybe you're going to. But I'm just saying, according to how I understand the denial.
But my lord, it is again not entirely accurate to say that this evidence is here. When we were able to identify, the defense was able to identify that there were discrepancies in that evidence. I wonder if the court still remember that little table.
I remember everything.
In the
This case.
yes, that little table in the affidavit of Colonel Stein, where on one part of the
Yeah, there
evidence,
were 5 numbers there. Is that also?
no, man, there were not 5
The
numbers.
communication was based on 5 numbers.
No, what I'm
Okay,
saying,
just leave it.
yes, what I'm saying, my lord, is that in one part of his affidavit, the same information is twisted. In one part of his affidavit is not similar to what is contained in that little table. So that cannot be said to be a clear evidence. But nonetheless, Brigadier Gininda, I don't think you privy to that information. You see. So you are excused from answering that question, because in any event, when that argument ensued here, I don't think you have the insight here.
Are you excusing this witness not to answer, Mr. Mnisi?
Well, I'm only trying to make to
No, let him answer, because
I'm
this
only
witness...
trying to be fair.
No, wait.
Okay.
I'm listening to all the evidence.
Yes.
This witness argued with you, for instance, concerning the DNA expert evidence. Is that also so?
It is true.
Maybe I don't know. So he says you mustn't answer because he doesn't think you know about that evidence concerning the discrepancies or the forgeries, as it was said, about the numbers which were identified by Stein as belonging to Kelly and accused number 5, and that they communicated on the 15th of October 2014 and on the 8th of August 2014.
Exactly,
I
man.
remember the evidence.
Yes, exactly.
Listen.
But he can answer.
Yes, it was answered.
So, my lord, perhaps let's start with the numbers. The number belonging to Ms. Kelly Kumalo, it's a 082 number. And that number is even contained in her statement that she made initially to the police, that this is the number. So there's no dispute as to who's the owner, because in her initial statement, when she was giving a statement to the police, you find that number. You actually find two numbers, but the second one is what we term the runner. Number in question that is relevant in this call, it's a 082, and that is a number that was downloaded by the police that was not taken, and that number is contained in her affidavit. That is a starting point. Now, this number was contained, my lord, as I said, in this gadget, this handset that was downloaded, and in that handset, that is where now the number, the 073 number, 305, I just forgot the last four numbers, linked to accused number 5 was found. Now,
Sorry, so that everybody can understand. When you say the number was contained in the handset, whose handset?
Ms. Kelly Kumalo. Now, the number now that was recovered after there was an attempt to delete it, but then the expert recovered that number, and that number is a set number, this is 073, that is linked to abuse number five. And in the briefing I got my number, this is the number that communicated with Ms. Kelly Kumalo, both in August and October, using data, not normal line. That's the briefing I got. Now the link of this number to accused number 5, my lord, you will find it in his profile. It's that day, because that's what we had this in this 2020 when we had sites on him, my lord. You will further find it in some of his bank statements, which we recently discovered, my lord. I think it's Capitec, Standard Bank. That number is listed there, as well as in some of the traffic registrations where Natis captures. So that number, under his name, under his ID number, that number is there. It actually even appears on the exhibit which I dealt with in this court when Advocate Msholo was leading me about the traffic fines that he bought, where it was relevant to his state or not. If you go there, you will see that this is the number under his initials, surname, and ID number. That is the number that appears. So there is no doubt that the number is his, my lord, or is associated with his particulars. But what is also prudent to mention, my lord, is that the same gadget of Ms. Kelly Kumalo, in the same downloads, there is also a link in terms of the see-through bag money that goes to accused number 3. There's a link by see-through bag continuing.
No,
Yes,
wait,
well-
Gininda. Don't forget that I also represent accused number 3. What did you just say there?
I'm saying, in addition, I've dealt now with the courts, so I'm saying
Yes.
the same gadget of Ms. Kelly Kumalo.
Yeah.
In it, when they did the download, a see-through bag containing money
Yes.
was found.
Yes.
Now, that bag is also found in the cell phone gadget of accused number 3 as well as Mr. Longo trial.
So, just to understand you, so it means there's a resemblance of what was found, the pictures that were found in Kelly's phone, and the pictures that were found in accused number 3, and the pictures that were found in Longo's phone are similar of that see-through bag money.
My Lord, that is contained in a statement of Colonel Stein, where he says a similar bag is found in the following gadget, and that is the report I believe I got from him. Now, when I say link to accused number 3, my lord, the gadgets that I'm referring to, it is the gadgets that was seized from him according to the statement, allegedly seized from him under Cleveland case 96 of 2, 2015 by Masondo as well as Sergeant Dr. Muzambi, then when they arrested him. So we have a direct link because then it's alleged that it was found in his possession. And subsequent to his downloading, we even dealt with the photos that were found inside.
Sorry. I'm just reminding myself. It's staying top of an XBY process. In other words, the police, if you buy a furniture, that's how they put it. If you buy a furniture on credit, they take your name, your address, your ID number, and then you get a ticket, for instance, etc., or you are charged in another case. The police have a means of extracting.
Yes, that is correct.
What did he call the process?
XDX. XDS.
That's it.
That's
That's
the
the
system
statement.
that he used.
XDX process for the police.
Now, my lord, with due respect, I'm sorry, Mr.
This is what Stein said. That process which he talks about. Am I correct, sir?
Yes, my
Stein
lord.
refers to it in a scientific name. He says it's an XDX done by the police. That's the evidence I listened to.
Now, I want to fit that XDX explanation that comes into the that comes from the court. I want
It
to.
doesn't come from me. Please. It's the evidence of Stein. Unless you say I'm lying.
No, I'm not saying that
What
the
are you
court is.
saying when you say it comes from the court?
No,
No,
or that's the
Mr.
court
No,
referred
I
to now.
I take special attention to relay the facts as I get them. It's Stein who said that, not me. I'm
Yes,
regurgitating the evidence given by Stein.
yes, my lord.
Twice.
Yes, my
Doesn't come
lord.
from me.
Yes, my lord.
Okay.
Now, my clarification, the point on which I request that I should be clarified on is, this witness is now testifying about the bag. There was the see-through bag of money, a picture, not bag of money, a picture of a see-through bag of money that was found in accused number 3's phone, Longwell's phone, as well as Kelly's phone. He says that in the context of testifying about the communication between accused number 5 and Kelly. Now that XDX thing, how does it feature
No, it doesn't
in this
communicate.
evidence?
No. It doesn't communicate about Kelly. It communicates about the numbers. Is that the numbers of the person?
The numbers
The numbers.
associated.
It doesn't know Kelly from a bar of soap, but it communicates about the number which he says, not me, which he says it was duplicated between himself and accused number 5 and vice versa. If it's correct, that's what he said, if I recall the evidence, not the person.
And that is the explanation that I needed to get, my lord.
Okay.
That is that XDX thing with regard to the back, the picture of the white bag of money or what? The white bag of money that was the see-through bag of money that was allegedly accused number 3's phone, Kelly's phone, and Longo's phone.
So, my lord, no, I think the advocate is perhaps let me explain it this way so that it becomes clearer. We're talking about two systems. XDS is a system that will contain the details of an individual, be it as the court rightfully said, opens a bank with FNB. You submit your details. Those details, by the expert to our registers, they can recover and see what number did you give, what address did you give. You buy a furniture, the court is in this amount, you will get them. Employment details, you will get them. And in terms of the chronological order up to the latest information. That is a system that the expert utilize to get the information in terms of your numbers, your addresses, your recent employment, etc., etc. That is now my understanding of the function of that system, which is separate to the second part of the sit back that I'm going to come to my note. Now, my lord, coming now to the downloads. Now, that is now my understanding and experience that I have. Downloads comes from the gadget itself. So, in other words, you have to have the handset and then the expert with the expertise.
Gininda, there are experts who testified about downloads. They testified in detail. People who have got the expertise who will not come and say, that is my understanding. People who say we've been trained in this. You understand? Simple. The question that I posed to you the last 15 minutes was, could it have been so that the relationship or the fact that there was a cell phone contact between accused number 5 and Kelly Kumalo
Is it over? Hello? Fidel. Okay. Yes? So I saw fine. I'm told by my registrar that it stopped recording that machine. Is it correct, sir? Yes, correct. Yeah. In other words, when Mr. Mnisi posed the question that there are experts, etc., who who will come and explain, or who explains, not a person who says, my understanding. My registrar tells me that the machine, after that, stopped, as it has stopped now. Are you with me?
Indeed, my lord.
Can you confirm that it has stopped? Bazothi, hey. Ukubela abantu esakeni. Yeah. Yeah, fine, I'm just explaining. So it will, after this lull, it will again start and record whatever was said thereafter. So we must wait. Okay, fine. Are you telling me you don't get the gist of the dispute between you guys?
Yes, my lord, we got the gist.
I mean,
Yes. I think it's been resolved. The witness was answering the previous question regarding Colonel Stein.
Yeah.
And that's when Advocate Mnisi stopped him.
okay, that was when you objected after that.
Yes.
But that is not accurate, my lord. The court wanted to find out what was the dispute all about. And I said, my last question to the brigadier was, Brigadier, I asked this question actually 15 minutes ago, and I was actually very savvy with time. It could have been 40 minutes ago. That the fact that you found that there was or it is alleged that there was a communication between Kelly Kumalo and accused number 5, could that have been used as a basis to conclude that this was a hit?
Okay.
That is when then the machine stopped.
So he must answer that.
Yes, because it has
No,
not been
just-
answered.
no,
my
no.
lord. Yes.
So
This
you are
explanation that
waiting-
took
you are
30
waiting-
minutes.
You are waiting for him to answer that question.
Yes, my lord.
Okay, so that we must have progress.
Yes.
Do you understand what Mr. Mnisi is getting at?
I do, my lord.
Okay, let's continue then. Where's this guy? Ubalekile manje. Yeah, start the machine. Wait until he starts the machine.
Okay, man.
Maybe on a lighter note, Madam, I think we forget to estimate the score here.
The what?
The score.
Which score is that now?
The score is between the defense and the state.
No, the way I understand this, you are saying you are waiting Brigadier Gininda to
Yes.
answer that question.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
then we proceed.
Yes,
But the problem now, this machine has got stuck.
yes. For
it is
the
not recording.
proceedings of today, yes.
Yeah, it's not recording.
Yes,
So we're waiting for it to record.
yes, my lord.
It's obvious Trump is a better machine operator. Yeah, he played a video for the whole world to see.
I think Dr. Sibande is writing a paper on that,
Is that so?
subject. Yes, I think he can. He's writing a paper on land expropriation.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah.
Are you doing that, sir? Because that topic, I thought it's exhausted. Land expropriation. Why, Mr. Admissibility, was surprised? Mandela, Sobukwe, Kotani, Joe Slovo, Mabida, Sisulu, Tambo. For 30 years, they debated that issue. I know it because I'm sorry to say it, my uncle is Moses Kotani. So they debated that issue about expropriation without compensation. Actually, the Pan-Africanist Congress used to say, we'll point them, we'll chase them into the sea. And they came with this compromise, Section 25 of the Constitution. And we know what happened in the other country, in Zimbabwe. They chased away all the whites with their suitcases. Now they are paying them back for the land. So maybe people must just take the view of the senior guys who debated this issue. Can't tell me that Mandela he doesn't have the inkling as to how to solve the problems we had concerning our history. Because these guys, the Afrikaners, they are here for 800 years. Are you aware of that? Yes. 800 years. 1648 actually. We normally say 1652. Diego came in 1648 or 2, somewhere there, ne? 42, ne? So these guys have been here for 800 years. And they regard themselves as Africans. Like the Trumps. The Trumps went to America in the Mayflower, I think 1538, somewhere there, is that not so? When the British occupied and conquered North America. The English, today they are guys like Trump, for instance, they regard themselves as Americans. And then, of course, there was a genocide of the native races, the so-called Apaches and so forth, like with us here. They say the Khoisan came here before us. And apparently there's some historical truth in that, because there were these drawings, which we found here. We were not artists. We just ate the meat. But then they have drawings of animals, etc., etc., etc. And it's sad to say it, and sad. But we also, in a way, committed genocide against Barwa, the so-called Khoisan. And we denigrated them. If a person looked at you down, we used to call you Aitimurong. So this problem, it's a long held problem. I don't know what's going to happen about it. Because, can you imagine, Simon van der Stel, he sold that farm before he died. You remember, he went away to Batavia. So a guy like Baloyi, the only difference was that he's white and he's Dutch, bought the farm. So there's change of title deed for 600 to 800 years. Okay. All right. Yeah, iqale futhi mfowethu.
I'm repeating it. I posed that question 15 minutes ago. And then now gadget.
So this is what was recorded today, ne? Hello, am I correct? Huh?
I'm repeating
Oh,
it.
okay.
Could it have been so that the fact that there was this alleged communication, cell phone communication between Kelly Kumalo and accused number 5, used as one point to conclude that that this was indeed a contractual assassination, amongst others?
As a please, my lord. Counsel asked a question that there was a challenge with Colonel Stein's evidence regarding the communication between accused number 5 and Kelly Kumalo. And the court then said, but the state objected, and the court said the witness should answer. The witness is now busy explaining it. Now, counsel stops the witness from explaining it. The very same question that counsel posed. We submit, my lord, that the witness should be allowed to complete his answer regarding the earlier question that was put to the witness.
No, madam, it does not work out like that. Look, my question is very simple. It does not need expertise on cell phone gadgets or whatever. The question is that, could it have been one of the factors that was taken into account that the cell phone conversation that was allegedly found to exist between Kelly Kumalo and accused number 5 used as a fact to say that this was actually a contractual assassination? That was my question.
There was no such question, my lord. We were still busy with that initial question.
No, the state can't say that there was no such a question. We can play the record.
Yeah, there was such. There was.
Yes.
There was a question like that. So was this gentleman, the brigadier, must answer that question because you're objecting
Yes.
that they are stopping him from answering that question.
My lord, it boils down to this simple fact. Which question was Brigadier Gininda answering?
Yeah.
He was still answering that initial question about Stein's evidence, explaining about how the downloads works. And that's when Advocate Mnisi then said, but that's not the question that I asked you. That is the crux of the issue.
Okay, Mr. Mnisi, can you answer that question again? For Mr. Brigadier Stein, so that we have progress. Whether this alleged communication between Kelly and accused number 5 was interpreted amongst other interpretations, or it was found by yourself that it proves or indicates that there was a contractual killing.
Yes, my lord. So
Is that how you pose the question, Mr. Nis?
I got a bit of a disturbance. I couldn't follow
No,
what the
no,
court was saying.
I'm saying you are saying
Yes.
the fact that accused number 5 and allegedly accused number 5 and Kelly communicated,
Yes, my lord.
was it one of the indicators to the brigadier that that communication was in pursuance of a contractual killing? Is that how?
Yes, my lord.
So you must answer it and then we make progress.
Yes.
Is that so, Mr.?
Yes, that's a new question, yes.
Yeah, fine.
It's not a new question.
Okay, but you want to ask that question in any case.
I'm not so sure, madam, whether we're starting formally now with today's
No, we are formal.
proceedings. Yes.
We are recording.
As it please the court, my lord.
I mean, we're fighting about, it's not that question, it is that question. We have had evidence over 60,000 pages.
Yes.
We're arguing about 2 minutes evidence in this court.
Exactly.
Please, let's go on. So you answer that question and Mr. Mnisi will proceed.
My apologies, my
Yeah,
lord.
fine.
The state just reminded me that we did not remind the witness that he's still
Under oath, he knows.
yes, I do, my lord.
Yes, okay, fine.
So, my lord, It is correct to say the communication, and I want to explain it in the context that I was moving on, because I was moving step by step yesterday, so that it's not misunderstood.
Yeah.
No, it's not an objection. I'm just stating that the proceedings are formally started.
All right, no, I
Thank you.
understand. And it was all, my lord, kicking off from the confessions, because in the confession of accused number 1, the 2 confessions of accused number 1, that is where you find the name of Ms. Kelly Khumalo as the trigger point of this assassination. Then
athi ufakazi athi bekhumbuza ufakazi ukuthi angakhohlwa ukuthi sisasengaphansi kwesifungo ke mayelana nodaba lombuzo koqhamukile kuwukuthi ngabe yini le eyaphoqa amaphoyisa ukuthi wathathe isinqumo noma eyenza amaphoyisa ukuthi athathe isinqumo sokuthi ke ngoba kade khona inkulumo phakathi komsola wesihlanu ke futhi noKhili Khumalo ke baqedela ngokuthi bona ke lokubulawa kukamufi into ade ihleliwe phansi ke bese athi ufakazi uma aphendula mayelana nodaba lama confessions amabili ke ayenziwa ama confession lawo ke enziwa komsola wokuqala kuwukuthi
No, I said the confession indicates that the trigger point is Ms. Kelly Khumalo. The 2 confessions.
kuwukuthi kulama confessions ke amabili ke enziwa ke umsola wokuqala ke kuwukuthi umuntu ophakathi nendawo noma mhlawumbe oxhumanisa labantu laba ke uKhili Khumalo.
Then from there, my lord, we move to the 2 confessions of accused 2. And similarly, on those 2 confessions, the name of Ms. Kelly Khumalo comes up as a trigger point.
Athi futhi imuva kwalokho bese abahamba ke bakuma confessions ayenziwa ke umsola wesibili ngesikhathi kade belalele ama confessions enziwa ke umsola wesibili ukuthi umuntu kade baxhumanisa futhi khona ke igama lakhe lavela ke lapho ke uKhili Khumalo.
Now, it is in these 2 confessions, my lord, of accused number 2, where now the names of accused 3, 4, and 5 comes into the picture, because that is a sequence of events, and it will tally or be explained correctly when you start doing the linkages, because up to that stage the names of accused 3, 4, and 5 were sort of like silent, but when you get to the confessions of number 2, then you see the name of accused number 3, number 4, number 5. They now come into the picture.
Athi ke uma ngaba ubuka ke kuma confessions ke kamsola wesibili ke lapho ke kula qhamuke khona ke amagama wabasola abalandelayo kumsola wesithathu umsola wesine futhi umsola wesihlanu ke futhi umuntu akade ebaxhumanisa mhlawumbe umuntu akade exhumanisa labantu laba ke lapho ke uLokheli Khumalo bathi khona njalo uma ngabe kade buke confession noma ama confession amabili ke lapho ke kade yenziwe umsola wokuqala ke akakhulumile ngomsola wesithathu umsola wesine futhi nomsola wesihlanu.
Now, my lord, subsequent to these confessions, then the investigation proceeded to corroborate and verify what was contained in the confessions.
Athi ngesikhathi kade besenza ukusesha kwecala labo ke lapho kulaba baxhumanisa khona ke lofakazi ade busalane ngemuva noma kade bulandelana ngendlela ke lapho ke ethize baxhumanise konke okuxhumanayo.
And this is where now, my lord, that investigation, and I'm going to leave others which are not important for this purpose, led to the establishment of the communication between Ms. Kelly Khumalo and accused number 5, both in August and October
Athi ke lapho ke
of
kulapho
2014.
athi futhi lapho ke kulakhona ke bazama ukuthola ukuthi ngabe kade bexhumaniswa yini ke umsola wesihlanu ke futhi noKhili Khumalo ngenyanga noma ngesikhathi kade bekhuluma ocingweni ke ngenyanga kaOctober futhi nangenyanga kaAugust ngeminyaka ka2014.
As well as the see-through bag of money that was found in Ms. Kelly Khumalo's gadget, accused 3 and Mr. Longotwala.
Athi futhi olunye kodaba olukhona ke ukuthi kade khona ke isithombe leso kade sinemali ke ngaphakathi isithombe bokhona ukuthi ubone phakathi kusona ke isithombe leso ke basithola ngaphakathi kocingo lwakamsola wesithathu futhi uKhili Khumalo futhi noLongotwala.
But further to that, my lord, it also, during this process of investigation, 4 numbers at that initial stage. I know later they expanded, but at the beginning, there were then 4 numbers of Ms. Kelly Khumalo that were discovered, that they were active, but she did not disclose to the police at the time. And by the time I got involved, the window period of establishing the data or asking the data from the networks had expired. In other words, the 3-year window period has expired, so we couldn't get the data. But what we were able to establish is that there were 4 numbers in my recollection that were not disclosed, and Kenneth Stein was able to establish them, that these numbers were belonging to Ms. Kelly Khumalo. They were active during this period, but they were not disclosed to the police. Only 2 numbers were disclosed to the police when this incident took place.
Athi-ke lapho-ke ngesikhathi-ke uKelly Khumalo ehlangana namaphoyisa akakaze akhulume iqiniso mayelana nodaba lwey'nombolo zakhe noma yebo mayelana nodaba lwey'nombolo zakhe ezine-ke lapho-ke athi kade enenombolo-ke ezine ngesikhathi kade senzeka icala leli-ke lapho-ke kepha ngesikhathi bekakhulumisana namaphoyisa watshela amaphoyisa ukuthi yena unenombolo ezimbili zocingo-ke lapho-ke kepha uyasho khona ukuthi yena-ke ngesikhathi bekaqala ukungenelela kule cala leli ephenye icala leli-ke lapho-ke kade sekudlule isikhathi seminyaka emithathu-ke la bekazokhona ukuthi athole khona-ke iqiniso liphelele lonkana mayelana nodaba lokuthi-ke ngabe ley'nombolo lezi eqinisweni kade kuyezakaKelly Khumalo noma kade kungasizo yini ezikaKelly Khumalo. Besithi khona-ke uchwepheshe uthizeni wabiza ngegama likaKenneth Stein athi uyena-ke owenza lowo msebenzi loyo-ke ngemuva kwesikhathi-ke kulagcina sekathola khona-ke mayelana nodaba lwey'nombolo lezi-ke ezine-ke lapho-ke ukuwukuthi inombolo lezi ezine zonkana kade kuyinombolo zakaKelly Khumalo kepha ngesikhathi bekakhuluma namaphoyisa akakaze awatshele ngazo zonke ley'nombolo zakhe-ke ngenombolo zocingo zakhe kade zine-ke lapho-ke kepha watshela amaphoyisa mayelana nodaba lwey'nombolo zocingo ezimbili nje kuphela.
Now, my lord, the importance of these numbers, or me mentioning them, it is relevant in that when you moved to the confessions, it is clearly indicated that there seems to have been a communication from one of the accused with sisters. They refer to the name sisters, but the insinuation is that there was a communication between Ms. Kelly Khumalo and the accused, but it was in that effort in trying to establish that link to say if there seems to have been a communication as is contained in the confession between one of the accused and I think the confession refers to accused number 3 in particular, communicating with Ms. Kelly Khumalo. I wanted to establish that link to say, but if there was this communication, surely the cell phone records, because are there, must show. And in the absence of not finding that link on the day of the incident, that is why I said either then there would have been inaccurate recording on the confession or there is something that we are missing. And that is how now the expert, in endeavor to uncover the truth, then found out that there were these numbers belonging to her that were active but not reported to the police.
Athi khona-ke lapho-ke mayelana nodaba lwama-confessions kade lo muntu bembiza ngokuthi usisi-ke lapho-ke futhi umuntu okuwusisi kade exhumana noyedwa wabasolwa-ke lapho-ke ngesikhathi-ke kade besenza ucwaningo labo noma usesha kwecala labo-ke lapho-ke bona njengethimba lezesiphoyisa futhi uyasho khona ukuthi mayelana nodaba le-confession kula khona-ke igama likaMsola liqhamuka khona-ke lapho-ke ukuthi umsola wesithathu uye kade akhulumisa igama likaMsola laqhamuka khona-ke ukuthi ngabe kade kuye bekakhulumisana nolokuzana noKelly Khumalo-ke lapho-ke futhi uyasho khona ukuthi ngesikhathi nakangenelela lapho-ke esephenya icala leli-ke kula wathola khona-ke ulwazi lolo ngesikhathi bekalalela udaba lwama-confessions noma ngesikhathi kade abukeke kuma-confessions lapho-ke futhi ujobelele inkulumo yakhe washo lokho okulandelayo kuwukuthi ngesikhathi kade kusenzeka lokho-ke kepha-ke lo muntu akakazi ngesikhathi selanga leli ngelanga leli lesigameko lapho-ke kukhona la kungakhulunyiwe iqiniso khona-ke lonkana eliphelele mayelana nodaba lwey'nombolo zocingo.
But of utmost importance, my lord, with regard to the calls, to the 2 calls that links Ms. Kelly Khumalo and accused number 5, is that the number that was recovered that is associated with accused number 5 was actually recorded. I forgot to mention yesterday. The name that was attached to this number is NA, and there was no name. It simply says NA. And this is one of the factors that one considered when one said we could not establish any relationship that could be reasonably explained. Because, for example, if they were relatives, I'm not sure if you can record your relative as NA or friends, but that is how it was stored. And then obviously efforts were made to delete it, in other words to conceal it, but then it was discovered. So that part of how it was recorded, I forgot to mention that yesterday, my lord.
Athi-ke kunodaba akhohliwe ukuthi alukhulumeke izolo ngesikhathi kade aletha ufakazi bakhe kufakazi la ngaphambi kwenkosi yenkantolo-ke athi melana ney'khathi lezi ezimbili-ke la bexhumana khona-ke umsola wesihlanu-ke futhi noKelly Khumalo athi inombolo ekhona-ke lapho-ke kulo cingo kade ibhalwe ukuthi u-NA futhi ayibhaliwe igama lomuntu-ke lapho-ke kepha athi yena-ke lokho kuyamdida-ke noma mhlawumbe kuyamxaka-ke lokho ngoba kungani uma ngabe umuntu ohlobene naye-ke usube ushayelana naye ocingweni ungabhali igama lakhe uma ngaba usave ke inombolo zakhe ngaphansi kocingo lwakho ke futhi wajobelela incazelo yakhe washo khona ukuthi le nombolo lezi ke ngemuva kwalokho ke kunala kade zicishiwe khona usho ukuthi kunala kade zideletiwe khona ke kepha ngemuva kwesikhathi babuya futhi bakuthola ke ukuthi kade khona uxhumana phakathi kwale nombolo ezimbili ezithizeni ke lapho ke futhi washo khona ukuthi khona ke lokho ke kungani uma ngabe umuntu uxhumana naye noma uhlobeni naye ungeke uze ubhale igama uma ngabe ususave inombolo zakhe ngaphansi kocingo.
Now, that, my lord, taken into account with, or rather, subsequent to this, or in addition to this, statements were also obtained, and I will not go into the details because obviously those witnesses I know will go to the exercise that they were not called, but statements were obtained, and in my recollection, perhaps one or two.
Sorry, Brigadier, I did not get about the details and the witnesses who have not been called. Just can you please repeat
So I'm saying
Yes.
statements from witnesses were obtained, which corroborated what was contained in the confession insofar as this accused, and we touched base about it yesterday, being at the crime scene and obviously the arguments that were made after the deceased was killed. But in my recollection, there may have been also assertions that the accused may have received the orders from Ms. Kelly Kumalo. So in the course of the investigation, other than this, such, my lord, in my recollection, I just have to make sure which statement says that and then be specific. But in the investigation, we found such as well, my lord.
Athi ngesikhathi kade besenza ke bona kusasha kuqala labo ke lapho ke mina no double statement ezofakazi ke abanye ke kepha awuthi akanaso isiqiniseko sokuthi basezobabiza yini ngaphambi kwesekatolo thize baza kwenza isiqiniseko sestatement zabo malana noma malana no double statement zabo ke kepha athi khona ke statement ezathathwa lapho ke futhi statement lezo kade zihambisana nenkulumo kade khona ke ngaphansi kwe confession la ekuthizeni mhlambi khona ke mhlambi ke lapho ke ukheli Khumalo uyena ke owaphoqela noma oweza nalo hlelo noma mhlawumbe nalenkulumo mhlawumbe noma yebo nalenkulumo ithizeni ke kumele kubulawe umuntu.
Now, of importance, my lord, of further importance is that then the profile, the cold case analysis, as much as it was done on accused 1 and 2, same exercise was done on accused 3, 4, and 5.
Athi ke lapho ke ngesikhathi athi besenza icala leli ke lapho ke bana nodaba le cold profile case lapho ke athi uhambo abalenza noma mhlawumbe into abayenza ke lapho malana nomsola wokuqala nosibili futhi bayenza malana nomsola wesithathu nomsola wesine ke futhi nomsola wesihlanu.
I do not intend, my lord, to defame the accused, but what we found is that in their profile, the narrative of this assassination, I just don't know how to find the right wording without defaming the accused, my lord. But what we found in the profile, insofar as the cases in particular that they were sentenced for, in particular
Sorry,
3,
Brigadier, we've got 5 accused here.
that's what
Which
I'm
one are
going
you
there.
referring to?
No, I think you jumped in just when I was saying.
Oh, okay.
Accused 3, 4, and 5, because at that time, my lord, when we zoom on them, they were already serving sentence. They were already convicted and serving sentence in different prisons. Particularly those that were convicted is 2, is 3, and 4. 5 was convicted while we were busy with the trial, my lord. 3, 4, and 5.
Athi ngesikhathi athi besenza ke lo usearch kwicala labo lapho ke esikhathini ede kusebenza khona nje lapho ke usocongo ke noma bekhuluma ngodaba losocongo khona ke labathola khona ke ekuthizeni umsola wesithathu futhi umsola wesine kade bona ke sele begutshiwe ke lapho ke kepha kumsola wesihlanu ke lana wagwetshwa ngesikhathi kade icala liqhubaka.
Now, taking into
Sorry,
account all
Brigadier.
these facts, my lord.
Sorry, Brigadier. Now, you see, this is exactly what happened yesterday. The question that I posed yesterday, up until thus far, and in today's proceedings, we're almost 20 minutes in them, it has not yet been answered. You're coming with peripheral, collateral issues, and ultimately you're coming up with evidence that is inadmissible against this accused in this trial. Because what you've just saying now, that's character evidence.
So, my lord, as I was saying, I was at the
Do
conclusion.
you agree that this is character evidence? Which is inadmissible, and as a high-ranking officer, you know You don't need to do that.
So, my lord, if I may just then conclude, because it answers Advocate Mnisi's question. I felt it was important to indicate how did I come to the conclusion, because my understanding of the question from Advocate Mnisi is that in my statement or submission to the DPP, I made a submission that this offense was unconsensual killing. The killing was not just a robbery gone wrong. There was a contract to assassinate the deceased. And these factors that I've mentioned, my lord, I felt are important because they informed me. Evidence was collected that points to that direction, and I was merely indicating them as to what informed me to come to this conclusion. Hence I was saying, my lord, taking these facts that I've mentioned in totality, that is why then we came to a conclusion that there could have been no other way but to conclude that this was a contractual killing, and that is the answer to the question. The background is what informed me step by step, moving from the confession and additional evidence that was collected, my lord.
Athi-ke incazelo yakhe kuwukuthi ihambisana malana nombuzo kade ubuziwe lapho ke yena futhi baqala bekafisa ukuthi noma kade aqala ke icalele emuva la kade iqale khona ke noma ngendlela kade ihambe ngalo ke uma ngabe ephinda ke lo mbuzo kuwukuthi lapho ke kade bona bengayili kwebangenzi kepha kade becile ukuthi izini baze bazobulala ke lapho ke noma kade betsheliwe ekuzeni kumele ukuthi beze bafike babulale ke lapho ke athi malana nofakazi ke abutholile ngesikhathi kade amikisa ke uhlelo lakhe le-presentation kumahhovisi wethimba labashushisi ke lapho ke kuwukuthi kade atholeke ulwazi olukade nalo mhlawumbe imininingwane lo kade nayo ngemuva kokuthi yena kaphenye icala noma ke aseshe icala leli ke ukuthi le inkulumo bekayikhuluma esikhathini esindlule lapho ke futhi athi ufakazi kade anabo kade bukhomba encamashi noma kade bushaya esikhonkosini ekuthizeni ke lobugebengu noma mhlawumbe ke asithi mhlawumbe sehlo lesesehlako lapho ke kade kuyinto ade ihleliwe futhi kade kuyinto ade bephuqelekile ekuthizeni bayenze.
And I do agree, my lord, that the part that relates to the accused, insofar as the profiling is you know, it boiled it down, as Advocate Mnisi is saying, to character evidence. And it was not my intention. That's why I tried to explain that I don't know how to put it. I simply put it because it's one of the factors that I've considered, but it meant no harm. And that is why I've said it more than one occasion, that it is not meant to defame the accused. That was not my intention. It was simply to place before court the facts that were considered when one then came to this contractual killing arrangement, my lord, or proposal.
Athi-ke lapho-ke ngesikhathi bekakhuluma nenkulumo yakhe la kade umnumzana Mnisi kade amisa khona ke kuwumelo wenu ke banomzana ukuthi izini-ke nakhe angacekeli isithunzi senu phansi noma mhlawumbe akhulume-ke ngane njengokungathi mhlawumbe sekacekela phansi-ke athi lokho kade angahlosile ekuthizeni-ke enze lokho-ke kepha bekenza lokhu ngoba kade afisa ukuthi achazele inkosi yenkantolo kabanzi noma ngokugcwele malana nalokho kade nakutholile futhi asho khona njalo ukuthi lapho ukudutshulwa kamufi ngesikhathi kade kusenzeka isigameko lesi-ke kade kukudutshulwa kamufi kade kukudutshula ekuthizeni kade kuhleliwe phansi futhi bekhulumile bese bazwana-ke kepha kade kungasukuthi kade igebengu lezi mhlawumbe igilamkhuba lezi-ke kade ziye laphayana ekuthizeni zobamba inkunzi.
So I just wanted to explain that, my lord, that I agree with Advocate Mnisi. So there was no ill intention from my side. It was just to try and explain the facts that we considered.
Athi uyavumelana ke nommeli bekangamisela ekuthizeni ke lokhu kube nobungozi ngaphakathi noma kuzomunye ubuhlungu.
Thank you, Brigadier. The apology is well accepted. And on behalf of the accused that I represent, I think that will go to my colleagues as well.
Understood, my lord.
Thank you. And what also is comforting on behalf of the accused, the court has said on a number of occasions that he is trained enough to separate what is not wanted from the wheat. In other words, to separate trash from the wheat. I've got no doubt in my mind about that, about what the court said in that regard. But thank you. Brigadier, you're quite right. When you investigate a case, you know, you don't underestimate each and every little thing that you get. In other words, you just take out each and everything that you get, you put it into the case docket, and then you submit it to the office of the DPP, or to the prosecution, so.
Bathi-ke uma ngabe mnumzana usenza kokuphenya kwecala uma usesha icala lapho-ke akukho lo uthatha kancane mhlawumbe ongakubheki-ke lapho-ke nje eqondile, kepha konke okutholayo usuthi uyakuthatha-ke bese umikise kwithimba labashushisi noma kumahhovisi abashushisi, akusenjalo yini?
That is correct, my lord.
Athi yebo kunjalo.
It's like a flooded river that will carry whatever that it gets along its way and then goes and throw it into the ocean and so.
Bathi lapho usuthi kufana-ke nomfula-ke uma ngabe umfula usugcwele usukhukhula noma usugcwele amanzi amaningi, uthatha amanzi lawo-ke bese waletheke ngale elwandle, akusinjalo yini?
Well, I suppose, my lord, insofar as it's related to that matter, the matter that we're investigating, yes, you will have to investigate, follow each and every lead, but you focus on that case. So I'm not sure, because my understanding of the river collects everything. I suppose even if it's not relevant, then it will be collected. I think this approach will be slightly different. Yes, any lead that comes, insofar as the matter that is before court, we have to investigate, collect, and submit to the DPP. But the relevance will be what we're investigating and not any other matter, my lord.
Yeah.
Athi yebo angafisa ukuthi athi yebo kunjalo, kepha kanaso isiqiniseko sokuthi ngabe umfula wona-ke ngabe uthatha ukuthize noma uthatha ukuthize, kepha athi umfula wona-ke uma ngabe usuthatha uhambisa amanzi, uthatha konke lokho kusemanzini-ke bese ukuthelele elwandle, kepha athi yebo-ke uma ngabe bona-ke uma besesha icala njengethimba lesiphoyisa-ke lapho-ke ulwazi oluncane nolwazi oluncane okusuke balutholile lapho-ke bavame ukuthizeni balisale emuva.
The example of a river, Brigadier, is in a context of a particular case that is being investigated. Yes, I don't mean all the cases, no, in the context of a particular case. Thank you.
I understand, my lord, and I agree.
Kade athi isibonelo sokusebenzisa-ke umfula lapho kuwukuthi ngabe kuwukuthi bekenza nje isibonelo sokuthizeni uma ngabe amaphoyisa esesha amacala kuva akusukuthi wonke amacala bawaseshayo, kepha kwicala elithizeni lokhu abakutholayo kumele basale emuva, athi yebo kunjalo.
Now, thank you. Back to the case that we're busy with now. You amassed and collated all the information that you've just alluded to now, and prepared a memorandum that included all the information that you've just testified about now and presented it to the office of the DPP for a decision.
Bathi-ke lapho usuthole lonkana-ke ulwazi noma lonke ulwazi kade unalo-ke mayelana necala leli. Ngemuva kokuthola-ke ulwazi lonke lolu kade unalo bese uyahamba-ke wena-ke uvakasha kumahhovisi wabashushisa abakhulu kwithimba lakhona-ke ekuthizeni ufike umikise i-presentation yakho, akusinjalo?
That's correct, my lord.
Athi yebo kunjalo noma yebo kuyiqiniso lokho?
Thank you. Now, the process that the office of the DPP as prosecutors will do in arriving at a particular decision, it's a very meticulous and a tedious one.
Athi-ke lapho-ke uhlelo noma mhlawumbe uhambo lwethimba labashushisi ngaphambi kokuthi bafike kusinqumo sabo-ke kumele bahlale phansi bacabange futhi bacabangisise kahle ngokujulile konke okusube banako ngaphambi kwabo, akusinjalo yini?
Please, my lord, I think this now for the third day, the council has been busy with the same issue. Is the reason, my lord, why this issue is being revisited over and over again, my lord. We submit that it should now be ruled out. I think it's been sufficiently canvassed in the past 3 days.
Now, I'm not so sure which issue is the state referring to, my lord. That has been repeated for almost 3 days.
It's talking about the selection.
The
selection of, for instance, the charges to be preferred, the indictment, etc.
No, I'm not.
And he says it's a process which is done by the staff of the DPP, but the Director of Public Prosecutions is the one who decides. Like we said, we must read section 196, 76, 79 of the NPA Act. This witness doesn't select or make a decision about charging. At the worst, he can recommend. But the man who makes a decision, it's the DPP. Is that what you're trying to put across?
Yes, indeed, my lord. And the whole issue of the presentation of the docket, those issues have been covered in the past 3 days.
No, that is pretty wrong, my lord. Would never agree with that kind of an approach, because it's public knowledge. It's there in the internet. It's everywhere. How does an office of the or how does a prosecutor comes into a particular decision? I'm laying a background here to this witness of the question that I will come and pose to him later on. So I cannot be barred from laying a background, because that's public knowledge.
You mean the public knows how the,
How prosecutors
how
take
the,
decisions, yes.
how the DPP performs her duties or his duties?
No, how do prosecutors take a decision?
How they perform their duties. Whether they take a decision or not, they perform a duty.
Yes, that's
So the
public
public,
knowledge,
know,
man.
the public knows about that.
It's public knowledge. It's
Okay,
there
fine,
in the
fine.
NPA Act.
Fine, fine.
Yes, it's there in the NPA Act,
Okay.
which is it's a national legislation. It's a public legislation. So there's nothing untoward from the question that I'm asking this witness.
Okay.
Thank you. Sir, I was just saying that the process of making a decision by the office of the DPP is a very laborious, meticulous, and a tedious one.
athi lapho-ke so uthi esinqu mhlawumbe uhambo lo mhlawumbe uhlelo ovame ukuthi thathwe ithimba labashushisi-ke lapho-ke uhambo olujulile futhi noma uhlelo olujulile lapho-ke ngoba kumele baqaphe konke okhona-ke ngaphakathi kwalokade ukupresenta futhi naphakathi kwedokhethi bese bahlale phansi bakufundisise bese bacabangisise kahle ngaphambi kokuthatha isinqumo kusenjalo yini.
I'm listening, my lord.
Athi yebo ngilalele.
Thank you, Brigadier. In other words, they serve as a strain or a filter from what they received from investigating team and what they need to go and present at court.
Athi-ke ngamanye amagama kusukuthi bahlala phansi-ke bona babuke lokhu abalethelwe-ke umseshi wecala. Ngemuva ukuthi babuke lo msebahluza-ke lapho ukuthi ngabe yini ukuthi bathathe bayimikise ngaphambi konkusi enkantolo thizeni-ke inkosi enkantolo bese ithwesa abantu noma isici siyaqala-ke ihlala phansi ilalela icala.
Listening, my lord, yes.
Thank
Athi
you.
yebo ngilalele.
Thank you, Brigadier. And I've got no doubt in my mind that in this case, that is exactly what happened.
Athi akanako ukungabaza ke nakhe emcabangweni ukuthi kule cala ngabe yilokho kwenzeka.